Before we start, don't forget to hit the like button, ring that notification bell, and subscribe. Thank you for your support. Now on to today's tale. In the land of the free and the home of the brave, a twisted patriot hunts her prey. Red, white, and blue. To most, they symbolize freedom, bravery, and patriotism. To me, they are the colors of vengeance. My name is Liberty, and every 4th of July, I deliver a twisted homage to the country that betrayed me. I wasn't always this way. Once, I was a hopeful, patriotic child named Alice Green, living in the quintessential American dream. My father was a decorated veteran, and my mother, the perfect housewife. Every 4th of July, we'd have a grand celebration. But that all ended one fateful night when my father, drunk and enraged, killed my mother and himself, leaving me alone and broken. The system failed me, shuffling me through foster homes where I was abused and neglected. Every Independence Day became a reminder of my loss, my pain, and the lies of this so-called land of the free. Now, as the nation celebrates, I mourn and seek retribution. Clad in my goth attire of red, white, and blue, with my blonde hair and blue eyes that reflect the insanity within, I become the embodiment of a corrupted American dream. My weapon of choice is an axe with a hilt adorned with a bald eagle's head. Ironic, isn't it? The symbol of freedom becoming the tool of death. To hide my identity, I don an Uncle Sam mask, a grinning visage of the nation's mascot turned nightmarish. Each year, as soon as the 4th of July ends, I begin my preparations for the next. I blend into society, taking on different personas, moving from town to town. By day, I am an unremarkable face in the crowd. By night, I become Liberty, the Patriotic Reaper. I study my chosen town meticulously, learning its rhythms, its secrets, and most importantly, its people. I select my victims carefully, targeting those who represent the hypocrisy and deceit of the American dream. The businessman who profits from others' misery, the librarian who censors knowledge, the fireworks enthusiast who revels in superficial displays of patriotism. I stalk them, noting their routines, their vulnerabilities. By the time the 4th of July rolls around, I know them better than they know themselves. My first victim this year was Mr. Thompson, a local businessman known for his extravagant 4th of July parties. I watched him as he paraded around his backyard, holding a flag high, the epitome of patriotic pride. It was almost too easy to slip through the throng of people and into his house. I waited until he came inside for a drink. One swift blow to the back of the head with my axe, and he was down. But I wasn't done. I dragged his lifeless body outside, posed it upright with the flag still in his hand, and used his blood to paint stripes on his white shirt. The scene was grotesque yet poetic. A bloody flag bearer. Next was Mrs. Jenkins, the town librarian. She always decorated the library with a massive eagle on the roof. She had to be next. I broke in after hours, catching her by surprise. The fear in her eyes as she saw me, as she realized what was about to happen, was exhilarating. I pinned her to the floor, spreading her limbs wide. With each swing of my axe, I severed her arms and legs, positioning them outstretched like an eagle. Her blood pooled beneath her, creating a morbid mockery of the majestic bird. I made sure to leave her body on display atop the library roof for all to see. As the body count rose, the town buzzed with fear and suspicion. The police, clueless and desperate, dubbed me the Patriotic Reaper. They had no idea of the grand finale I had planned. A tableau of death during the town's fireworks display. The town square would be my stage, the fireworks my spotlight. But before the grand finale, I added 2 more masterpieces to my collection. First was Jacob, a man who loved fireworks. I found him in his backyard, surrounded by colorful explosives, eager to light up the night. I tied him to a wooden post and stuffed his mouth with firecrackers, binding them with duct tape. His eyes bulged with terror as I lit the fuse. The firecrackers exploded, shredding his face into a gruesome mess. I then ignited the larger fireworks around him, stepping back to watch. As the rockets exploded, they took Jacob with them, turning him into a human firework. His remains splattered across the yard, a macabre display of patriotic fervor. Then there was Mr. Harrison, the local hardware store owner. He was a meticulous man, always ensuring his store was the first to display 4th of July decorations. I lured him into the alley behind his store with a trail of firecrackers, each one going off with a loud bang, leading him deeper into the darkness. At the end of the trail, I had set up a trap. A tripwire connected to a rigged bundle of fireworks. As he stumbled over the wire, the fireworks ignited, sending a barrage of flaming sparks into his body. He flailed and screamed, engulfed in the deadly flames until he collapsed, his body charred and smoking. I kidnapped 3 more victims. A family of 3 who were always front and center during the fireworks. Their screams were muffled by the explosions in the sky as I methodically ended their lives, one by one. The father was hung from the flagpole, his blood dripping down the stars and stripes. The mother was bound and gagged, forced to watch as I dismembered her adult son. I then took her life, leaving the remains in a grotesque display of family values torn apart. With the finale complete, I stood back, admiring my work. The fireworks reflected in the blood-streaked square, a macabre celebration of the nation's birth. But I wasn't done. I left a note for the police, written in the blood of my victims: the Patriotic Reaper will return next year. As the fireworks finale illuminated the night sky, I sensed them before I saw them. The police, finally closing in, desperate to catch the Patriotic Reaper. Their flashlights bobbed in the darkness, converging on the blood-soaked town square where I stood among my latest masterpieces. I tightened my grip on my axe, the bald eagle hilt gleaming ominously in the artificial light. The mask of Uncle Sam concealed my face, but my eyes burned with an unquenchable fire. They thought they had me cornered. How quaint.
Drop your weapon and surrender.
An officer barked, his voice trembling slightly. With a slow, deliberate motion, I raised my free hand to my mask, adjusting it. Then, without warning, I hurled a bundle of firecrackers at their feet. The explosion of noise and light caused chaos, blinding and deafening them momentarily. I moved swiftly, closing the distance between us. My axe cleaved through the first officer's neck, blood spraying in a crimson arc. His body crumpled before he even registered what happened. The others barely had time to react. I was a whirlwind of red, white, and blue fury. Another officer lunged at me, but I sidestepped, driving my axe into his side. He let out a choked gasp, collapsing as I pulled the weapon free. The third officer managed to fire a shot, grazing my arm. Pain flared, but it only fueled my rage. I swung my axe upward, the blade embedding itself in his jaw, splitting his face in two. The remaining officers, their confidence shattered, tried to regroup. I laughed, a sound that echoed hauntingly through the chaos. One of them attempted to call for backup, but I threw a firework at him, the explosion ripping through his torso, sending pieces of flesh and uniform flying. I turned to the last officer, his eyes wide with terror. He raised his gun, but his hands shook so violently he couldn't aim. I closed the distance, grabbing him by the throat. He sputtered, his face turning red, then purple. With one final squeeze, I crushed his windpipe, letting his lifeless body fall to the ground. Silence settled over the square, broken only by the distant booms of the fading fireworks. I stood amidst the carnage, blood dripping from my axe, my breath steady and calm. They had tried to trap me, to end my symphony of vengeance. But they had failed. I took a moment to admire my work, then left the scene, melting into the darkness. The Patriotic Reaper would not be captured this night. And as long as there was breath in my body, I would return next year to continue my tribute of blood and retribution. As I walked away, disappearing into the night, I felt a twisted satisfaction. This town, this country, would never forget the name Liberty. Each year, the 4th of July would be tainted with fear, a reminder of the darkness lurking beneath the surface of patriotism. And I would be back to continue my symphony of vengeance. Thank you for watching. If you liked the video, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Also follow us on our socials. Your support keeps us going. Check out the next video you see here on the screen, and we'll see you again for another shadowy delight.